Welcome to the Dark Ozarks. We are discussing the haunted history of Joplin, Missouri. There's enough to talk about that this is actually part 2. But first, we want to remind you that the Dark Ozarks podcast is now available on Branson Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or about any other podcast platform. So why is Joplin seemingly more haunted than one would think?
And there does seem to be the more than anticipated per capita hauntings, but that may be a function of the history of the area, from the Civil War to the mining heydays and lots of outlaws in between. There are many possible reasons for this number of hauntings.
We will return to Haunted Joplin, but first we want to invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to Dark Ozarks on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as your favorite podcast platform. We also invite you to become a Dark Ozarks subscriber on Facebook. On the Dark Ozarks Facebook page, click subscribe, have your login information ready, and join Dark Ozarks behind the scenes for only $4.99 per month.
Your $4.99 per month subscription allows you to come with us on paranormal investigations, deep dive research, and topics too controversial for public view. The next 100 subscribers will be entered in a drawing for a free Dark Ozarks t-shirt and an exclusive signed first run copy of the book Dark Ozarks, The Spooklight. Subscribe today to be entered in the drawing.
And now you can get Dark Ozarks t-shirts for sale at darkozarks.com and paranormalsciencelab.com.
We encourage you to check out Always Buying Books in Joplin, Missouri, in person and online, on Facebook and at the website alwaysbuyingbooks.com for all of your reading needs, including a large section on the paranormal, history, and more. Not to mention, the building is haunted. Tell Bob and Elise we sent you.
We also want to thank Beard Engine Brewing Company in Alba, Missouri. Beard Engine Brewing is the only English-style brewery in Missouri and has been twice named Missouri's best brewery by the Missouri Brewers Association. Great beer and great food in a historical building with a noir past. And yes, their building is also haunted. Tell Nate and Tiff that we sent you.
Good folks.
Yes.
Very good folks. And as we mentioned, there's an enormous amount of noir history and paranormal activity associated with the Tri-State Mining District.
There is. And specifically, we're going to kind of delve into this short video into the reason you know who Bonnie and Clyde are.
It all happened because of Joplin.
Pretty much. I mean, they were on their crime spree already, but they have become a part of pop culture even today, and we associate the stories with certain iconic photos, and those photos are only known because of events in Joplin, Missouri.
Very, very true. I mean, it is, you contemplate for just a moment the iconic status of Bonnie and Clyde. They are household names. Mm-hmm. They have worked their way into public consciousness, and clearly an enduring public consciousness from the time, of course, also moved forward by the film with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. But even beyond that, an almost Robin Hood-esque quality about these two individuals, certainly fame extending far beyond their anticipation or expectation. And yes, it makes you wonder if those photos had not been circulated during that time, would they be remembered the same way?
Well, I mean, I think there's arguments both ways, because certainly their stars had faded from memory to a degree as time passed until the Warren Beatty movie. But to be honest, I doubt that you would have had the Warren Beatty movie without those photos.
It seems unlikely to me. The photos in question really created an aura of provocative, subversive qualities that were also very almost instantly romanticized.
Yes. Vilified and romanticized at the same time. And in ways that I think people have a hard time understanding today. One thing that I've noticed, not only on our pages, but on other postings and articles, when people talk about outlaws, it used to be that it was, people were interested, maybe romanticized it, but there wasn't a huge backlash. We're seeing, I see comments these days of people going, we shouldn't glamorize these people. They're, they're murderers or whatever. And whether it's Bonnie and Clyde or Jesse James or whoever. And I may get myself in trouble here, but to be perfectly honest, I think those people are missing the boat. They aren't seeing the forest for the trees. That it's not glamorized in the sense of we all want to go out and do that. Certainly we all don't want to go through what they went through, and certainly go out in a hail of bullets. But even the Robin Hood-esque aspect to it, I think a lot of people today don't realize the circumstances that of the world at the time, that there really was the sense of wanting a Robin Hood during the Depression, as well as during post-Civil War times in the South and the Upper South, which led to Jesse James' notoriety as well. People were going through drastic times, feeling like they were at the mercy of the moneyed interests, the bankers, etc., and that they were absolutely powerless to control their lives. And so there was a sense that, right or wrong, at least was there someone out there trying to control their destiny?
It's a very, very powerful motivation to remember someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be these moments, as with the rest of history, has to be remembered within the context of the history itself.
Yes.
And I think it's, for example, being a Second World War, a Civil War buff, does not mean that you're prone to violence.
Exactly. Same argument of when we were kids growing up, that watching cartoons was going to make us violent. Bugs Bunny was going to make us violent, or then it was video games, then it was this, then it was that, and statistically people aren't any more violent than they've always been.
And in some situations, in some regions, interestingly enough, less so than at times in the past, which we can enjoy and appreciate. Funny point mentioning Bugs Bunny, because as we were talking, I could draw a conceptual thread of the sense of powerlessness, the sense of angst that common people, working men and women of America, felt during the 1940s. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for the fact it was being overshadowed by the Second World War, still an enormous sense of, am I in control of my own destiny?
Right. And when could the Depression happen again?
Mm-hmm. And, the fact that most of my immediate forebears never threw anything away ever again, because we might need it for later.
Same here.
Yeah, you do not live in a disposable society. But that sense of almost a sense of repression, certainly a sense of fear that you are not in control of your destiny. Bugs Bunny, honestly, I think owes his enduring success to that sense of collective repression, because Bugs Bunny is characterized by, first of all, he's working class.
Yes.
And second of all, he is 100% in charge of his own destiny. And so much so that it's gloriously cathartic to watch even today. And so I think that all of these things speak into that contextuality. But coming back to the final point before we close is that Bonnie and Clyde were hiding out in a then new apartment on the southwest side of Joplin.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
they were.
And due to a number of circumstances, which we'll go into detail on the long format, a shootout between the Barrows gang and the police ensued, resulting in the death of 2 officers, I believe.
Yes.
And in the rush to escape, Bonnie left a number of her belongings, including undeveloped film.
Yes. And when the police developed the film, all the iconic photos that we have of Bonnie and Clyde were on that film. Yes. And turned into wanted posters, etc. And it's from those photos that the idea of this couple on the run and walking the line of danger developed. First of all, immediately kind of horrifying people. Yeah. And including Bonnie, who notoriously would tell kidnapped victims afterwards that she did not smoke a cigar despite that photo, which was her and Clyde joking around. Yes. And so, which is evidence that the photos affected even them, which I find it ironic.
It's a interesting commentary on the meta narrative.
Yes, it is. It really is. And those photos also were sort of the beginning of the end for Bonnie and Clyde that was, that ultimately ended in Louisiana with their deaths. It
did. And sealed their romanticization as criminal anti-heroes.
Yes. And we're going to go into this and a lot of other topics in the long format, and you will be able to see that video tomorrow night. So we invite you back for that. But in the meantime, don't forget to check out upcoming events and merchandise at darkozarks.com and paranormalsciencelab.com. Thank you again to Always Buying Books and Beard Engine Brewing Company for helping to bring the Dark Ozarks to everyone.
On the next episode, we're going to be discussing the dark underbelly of Route 66. Catch the Dark Ozarks podcast on Branson Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or about any other podcast platform. Thank you, everyone. And remember, there are no easy answers in the Dark Ozarks.